We start the story with an interview with professional soccer players. The question asked was which player they would most like to have on their team. To everyone's surprise, every player interviewed gave the exact same answer. Even this smiling player here confidently confirms the name for the camera. With a very confident smile, the other guy also mentions the mysterious name. Looking up, this athlete also agrees with the other players. The name they all said was Song Yoo-jun, an enigmatic player. With one eye glowing gold, he then gives a very confident smile. His life has always been linked to soccer, ever since he was just a baby. At his first birthday party, he chose the soccer ball from among several other items. A little older, the boy was already playing ball with his friends in the neighborhood. Demonstrating his talent, he manages to score a goal without any difficulty. In elementary school, because of this, he was called a soccer prodigy. His shots were always very powerful and practically impossible to block. Again, the ball goes into the goal, and the goalie can't even react in time. In middle school, his talent was so great that he became known as the god of the sport. He thought he was an incredible player, but all that changed when he met someone. At a tryout, another boy thought he would show his skills to everyone. He wanted to become the star of the team, so he kicked with all his might. However, upon seeing what happened, he is left completely speechless and shocked. The player who scored the goal wonders with a smile if the ball really went in. Celebrating, the guy says the shot was a bit off, but it was good nonetheless. The assistant then tells the coach that number 16, Sun Hyung-min, is the real deal. For our protagonist, that was his first bitter taste of defeat. Shocked, he can't believe the other player is the same age as him. His face showed all the frustration he was feeling at that moment. Wondering if he was just an extra, he decides that day would be the start of his evolution. From that moment on, the young boy began to train every day without stopping. Every morning, even after practice, he continued to push himself to the limit. Rain or shine, he practiced just to get better at soccer. 6 months later, we see him in a game, running with the ball across the field. We find out his name is Song Yoo-jun, and he plays as a midfielder. After a bad pass, an opponent takes the ball and thanks him for the gift. His teammate then gets furious and yells that the pass was trash. Yoo-jun apologizes for the mistake and takes the blame for what happened. But instead of getting down, he prepares to fix what he did. Saying he'll take responsibility, he runs to stop the attack. The opponent gets tired and is surprised by our protagonist's stamina. Seeing his speed, the opponent calls him a complete, unstoppable monster. Finally, the referee blows the whistle to end the first half for a 15-minute break. On the dirt field, the players take advantage of the break to rest a bit. Our protagonist uses the break to drink an entire bottle of water. With a smile, he says the water tastes amazing after running so much. Suddenly, he hears his teammate seriously calling his name. Furious, Hyung-min demands an explanation for the pass, but Yoo-jun tells him to calm down. The forward scolds him and tells the boy to practice passing instead of standing around. Annoyed, our hero thinks that the other guy has no idea how hard he has worked because of him. Hyung-min then asks if he knows that there are only 2 months left until something important. He talks about the selection for the national team for the Under-17 World Cup. Yoo-jun thinks about the world tournament for players under 17 years old. His friend explains that a good performance there could attract the world's attention. Even so, the guy sighs because just thinking about practicing passes gives him a headache. The referee then blows the whistle to start the second half and calls both teams to the field. Hyung-min asks that this time they play without making mistakes, and the other agrees. He instructs him not to make long passes, and our hero tells him to stop complaining. Suddenly, the boy feels a sharp headache and becomes completely disoriented. His eyes start to hurt and turn red as if something is very wrong. Then, his vision starts to become completely blurry, and he can't see properly. His teammate notices he isn't responding and calls out to him, worried. Looking back, Hyung-min is shocked to see his teammate's condition. Shouting his name, the friend runs over as the protagonist faints with his eyes rolled back. As the boy struggles to breathe, his friend yells for the coach to call an ambulance. With the sun setting, we see that the young man was rushed to the hospital. In the doctor's office, the doctor reveals to the family that the problem is color blindness. The boy's father is surprised and asks if the diagnosis is really correct. The doctor then says that right now, the boy is feeling the full effects. He reveals that the young man's world is now completely in black and white. The doctor explains that he avoided blindness, but his vision will get much worse. With a sad look, the father hears that his son needs to rest and avoid straining his eyes. Beside them, the boy's mother can't hold back her tears and starts to cry. Even with the bad diagnosis, the protagonist still has a question to ask. Confused, the doctor turns to the young man and asks what he wants to know. With a forced smile, he then asks if he can still continue playing soccer. The health professional looks away, and his expression says it all to the boy. Not knowing what to say, the doctor remains silent and can't answer the question. Receiving a hug from his mother, the boy's dream seems to have come to an end. Clenching his teeth, he tries to hold back all the pain he's feeling inside, but he can't hold it in and starts to cry desperately at the news. 15 years pass, and we are taken to a big city at night. Inside a building, someone comments that a new doctor is joining the team. In a restaurant, a man in a tracksuit complains that soccer fans want to know everything. Taking a sip of his beer, our protagonist doesn't seem to care much. He then says he understands but doesn't know what that has to do with him. A simple worker. Hyung-min sighs and says he used to play with the guy who just tells him to hang in there. On the television, we see a replay of an old game where the player scores an amazing goal. The caption praises Son Heung-min, the captain of Tottenham and the pride of Korea. Joking, Yoo Jun says if it were him, he would have scored 5 goals, and his friend scolds him. With a smile on his face, the protagonist remembers his old friend and rival. The athlete says that after the Under-17 World Cup, he started getting attention. Meanwhile, our hero just listens to the story in silence without reaction. In his thoughts, he regrets and wonders what could have been if he didn't have his condition. Calling his friend by name, the guy decides to break the silence with a question. He then asks how far his friend thinks he would have gone in soccer. Surprised by the question, Heung-min wants to know if this is some kind of regret. With a smile, the former player says that hearing the answer might help him move on. His friend then just lets out a long, heavy sigh before answering. The professional athlete then prepares a special drink for his companion. He then downs a glass in one go to gather the courage to tell the truth. Annoyed, the protagonist complains that the other can't even handle his drink and ruined it. Heung-min states that he was an excellent midfielder with incredible talent. The guy thinks his friend is exaggerating, but the athlete says he's being honest. He continues, saying that if the guy were good at passing or dribbling, he would be world-class. Confused, the protagonist questions if he was a midfielder who couldn't pass or dribble. The professional player jokes that he has good instincts, and his friend gets annoyed at the joke. Heung-min then laments, saying it was a shame because playing together was a lot of fun. With a smile, the former player agrees and says he misses those playing days. Before he can finish the question, his partner already looks confused and lost. Suddenly, the athlete passes out drunk and starts mumbling nonsense. With his friend completely intoxicated, the guy helps him into a car that appeared. He asks the manager to take care of his friend, and the man thanks him for his help with the athlete. Watching the car leave, he complains that his partner should stick to soda. Alone on the street, the protagonist stands in silence with a serious, thoughtful look. Walking home, he thinks that his friend's words only left him with more regret. Suddenly, a heavy rain starts to fall, catching him completely by surprise on his way. Shielding himself from the rain, he thinks about what his life would be like if he hadn't gotten sick. Looking at the traffic light, he wonders what it would be like if he could distinguish the uniforms. Running in the rain, he imagines what it would be like if his world were sharp and not blurry. He keeps wondering if he would have been able to go further in his career. Thinking about all that could have been, he runs without noticing a truck heading his way. Standing in the middle of the street, the protagonist is shocked and frozen by what he sees. After the impact, his shoe flies off, and he wonders if his life could have been different. Lying on the ground, critically injured, he appears to be in his last moments. Almost out of strength, he wonders if he's really going to pass on in such a sad way. Even close to the end, his only thought is how he wished he could play soccer just one more time. Suddenly, he finds himself back on the field with his friends calling him, and he doesn't understand anything. Looking at the sky, he realizes he can see colors again and is in shock. His friend Heung-min, worried, asks if he's okay, and he recognizes the guy's face. He comments that his friend looks like a student, and Heung-min says he fainted and is talking nonsense. Confused, he says he didn't faint, but that he was actually hit by a truck. Noticing something strange, he starts to look at himself, trying to understand the situation. Looking at his clothes, he sees the soccer team uniform from Donggol High School. Looking around, he finally realizes he's on his old school's field. Pinching his cheek, he wonders if this is all just a dream. The referee then calls the players to the field because the second half is about to start. His friend says he'll tell the coach that he can't play for now. When his friend turns to leave, he quickly grabs his leg to stop him. With a look full of determination, he says there's something he really wants to do. He finishes the sentence, saying he wants to play soccer and that it doesn't matter if it's a dream. Getting up, he prepares to kick because all that matters is being able to play soccer. With a smile on his face, he gets emotional feeling the touch of the ball after so long. On top of everything, he celebrates the fact that he can see colors normally again. In the middle of the match, an opponent approaches and asks what he's doing just standing there. With a smile, he realizes he got too sentimental and prepares for action. With a touch of the ball, he starts to move across the field with a new determination. Excited, he thinks about how his body is full of strength and advances with the ball. At 30 years old, he didn't have half the energy he has now as a young man. An opponent tries to stop him, but he's determined not to let anyone pass. His path is blocked, and he realizes he'll need another tactic to advance. From a distance, his friend Heung-min yells for the ball, and he sees an opportunity. He thinks it's been a while since he saw Yangju-chan, and that if he passes now, it's a chance. Trying to pass the ball to his friend, he prepares for the perfect launch. Suddenly, his eye glows gold, and he sees something very strange on the field. In the middle of the field, he sees a spot shining with a strong golden light. He wonders if this is a side effect of his eyes or a new condition. Not knowing what the light is, he decides to kick the ball in that direction anyway. He feels he must send the ball to that spot and kicks it with all his strength. His friend yells that he kicked it to the wrong place and that no one is there. Confused, the protagonist realizes that there really was no one where the light was. The game ends with Donggol High's team winning 2-0, and the players line up. After the game, the players sit down tired, and one of them invites the others for coffee. The players say goodbye and leave, but our hero remains seated alone in the stands. With his head down, he seems to be tired or just processing everything that happened. Suddenly, he starts to laugh quietly to himself, still sitting in the stands. Lifting his face, he realizes he really played soccer and gets very excited. With a huge smile, he understands that it's not a dream and that he has in fact returned to the past. Clenching his fist, he becomes determined because now he can continue playing soccer. His friend approaches and asks why he's smiling to himself like that. The protagonist thinks Hyung Min seems to be in a good mood, but the other complains about the nickname. The player praises the previous pass and asks how the guy managed to see him there. Our hero then remembers that he actually kicked it towards the golden pillar. He thinks that after that moment, he couldn't see the pillar of light anymore. With a confident smile, the boy says his real skills are just getting started. When his friend gets up to leave, the guy asks where he's going. The player then answers very simply that he's just going home. The protagonist becomes thoughtful upon hearing the word home, remembering there's practice tomorrow. We then see an apartment building at night with the lights on. Arriving at the door, he's surprised that he managed to find his way home. Typing the password, he realizes it's still his birthday. Entering the apartment, he announces that he's home after a long day. Looking inside, he is amazed to see that the house is just like the old days. In the kitchen, his mother calls him, and he's shocked to see her there in front of him. She calls him for dinner, and he gets emotional seeing how young she looks. He then notices his father is in the living room and greets him very formally. His father is surprised by the formal manner and asks if his son is feeling well. The mother explains that it's just the boy trying to be polite and calls him to sit down. The whole family sits down for dinner, enjoys the meal prepared by the mother. The guy is happy to eat his mother's home-cooked food after living alone for so long. He decides to try the kimchi stew and prepares to savor the meal. Upon tasting it, he remembers that his mother's food has always been very spicy. During dinner, his father asks if he has thought about what they discussed before. The father reveals he was talking about the possibility of him giving up soccer. The protagonist remembers that at this time, his father wanted him to focus on his studies. In his past life, he gave up soccer because of his condition and took over his father's business. He thinks that in the past, he would have said he'd think about it. But now it's different. With a healthy body and perfect vision, he slams the table and makes a decision. His mother and father look at him, surprised by the boy's sudden attitude. With a determined look, he affirms that he will continue his journey in the sport. He then adds that he will live his life entirely for soccer. The next day on the field, the coach announces they will split into teams for a friendly match. The coach asks the red and green teams to split up and start the game. A teammate jokes with the protagonist about yesterday's pass to get a ride. The guy becomes thoughtful and wonders if he'll be able to see the pillar of light again today. With the referee's whistle, the practice match finally begins between the two teams. Our hero receives the ball in midfield and controls it calmly at his feet. With a serious look, he analyzes the field looking for any opening or opportunity. He realizes he was seeing things but notices an aura on one of his teammates. Deciding to observe the situation first, he starts passing the ball with his partners. The team exchanges quick and precise passes, maintaining possession in the attack. One of his teammates watches him intently, waiting for the right moment to act. Suddenly, the player kicks the ball hard, making a long launch down the field. The diagram shows how precise the pass was and how it broke the opponent's defensive line. Yang Ju-chan receives the ball perfectly on his chest and advances towards the goal. With a confident smile, he prepares to finish the play and score the goal. He says that with the ball at his feet, the goal can be considered a sure thing. But a defender from the green team appears, telling him not to be so hasty. Annoyed, the forward asks if the opponent can't stand to see him succeed. The defender then taunts him, asking if a member of the under-17 national team can't get past. Seeing the situation, the protagonist runs to provide support while his friend calls for him. With the ball at his feet, he advances at high speed, passing the opposing defense. He thinks he got the ball, but it seems something is still missing from the play. Advancing with the ball, he realizes the situation is very difficult with 3 markers. The tactical diagram shows that he is completely surrounded with few options for a play. Thinking of retreating, he considers passing the ball back to restart the attack. Suddenly, the mysterious golden pillar of light appears again in the middle of the field. Surprised, he wonders if the golden pillar really appeared in front of him again. But this time, he notices the area of light is much smaller and narrower than before. He's unsure if he can make the pass and if it will result in a goal. With a smile, he scolds himself for hesitating and decides he can't be afraid. Telling himself he'll only know if he tries, he kicks the ball with precision. As the ball flies towards the light, he hopes it lands in the right spot. The play unfolds as the players run across the field at high speed. We see that the target of the pass was his friend Sun Hyung Min, who runs for the ball. However, the ball bounces strangely on the ground and escapes the player's control. Because of the irregular bounce, his friend misses the shot and loses the chance to score. The ball goes wide of the goal, and the promising play ends up going wrong. In detail, we see the forward's foot was far from the ball at the moment of the shot. Annoyed, the player complains about the turf and doesn't understand what happened in the play. From a distance, our protagonist watches the scene with a very frustrated expression. However, upon seeing his friend's missed shot, he starts to laugh and seems to have a revelation. With a smile, he finally understands the true identity of the golden pillar. The bright sun shines in the blue sky as the practice match continues at full steam. Near the field, we see the line marker, a simple but essential tool. A slowly dripping faucet symbolizes the calm and concentration of the moment. In the air, two players collide in a fierce dispute for possession of the ball. After the struggle, the ball escapes and is left free on the field for whoever is fastest. Desperate, one of the players yells for someone on his team to get it. With a subtle touch, our protagonist controls the ball with great class and calm. Standing with his foot on the ball, he now has total control of the game situation. He reflects that in the previous shot, if the ball had entered the golden zone, his friend Hyung-min would have scored the goal, and it was at that moment he realized everything. With a confident smile, he finally unravels the great secret of the golden zone. The first rule is that the golden zone only appears when he has possession of the ball. The defenders shout to stop Hyung-min, who is sprinting towards the attack. The second rule is revealed when the pillar of light appears once more on the field. The zone only manifests when a clear opportunity to score a goal arises. We then see a long and precise pass being sent towards the golden light. Finally, the third and last rule about the mysterious power is revealed to him. The ball begins to glow with a golden aura as it enters the special zone. When the ball enters the golden zone, it transforms into a perfect and accurate pass. Impressed, Hyung-min praises the killer pass he received from his teammate. Hyung-min kicks the ball with all his strength towards the corner of the goal. The shot is so powerful and precise that the goalkeeper has no chance of saving it. The forward shouts in celebration, certain that the ball will hit the back of the net. After the goal, the teammates celebrate while the protagonist watches from a distance. Clenching his fist, he feels confident that with this new ability, he is unstoppable. With a victorious smile, he feels invincible and ready for any challenge. Off the field, he continues to laugh to himself, satisfied with his performance. From a window, a mysterious man watches the practice with a cup of coffee in his hand. He notes that the pass was perfect and praises the guy's game vision and judgment. Taking a sip of his coffee, he seems intrigued by what he just witnessed. We find out the man is Lee Jung-gwan, the coach of the under-17 national team. The game ends with the red team winning 5-0 as the sun sets. In a diner, a sign announces that the key to victory was the protagonist's passes. His friend still can't believe it and asks if today's passes were really his. The friend explains that he has always been a player who runs a lot, not one focused on passes. The protagonist jokes about whether he should stop passing, and his friend kneels, praising his passes. Eating a snack, he agrees that to others, his sudden change is absurd. The box-to-box is a position that covers the entire field from defense to attack. With his great stamina, this is the perfect position for his style of play. He himself finds it ridiculous to have become a passer overnight. While they eat at the diner, his friend prepares to share some important news. He reveals that the coach of the under-17 national team was at the game, and the guy is shocked. He remembers that at this time, the coach came every day to watch his friend. With a pat on the shoulder, his partner seems to want to give him some encouragement. Hyung-min says that if he keeps playing well, he might catch the coach's attention. The protagonist is stunned to realize he could go to the under-17 team with his friend. In his thoughts, he imagines himself playing in a large stadium with a cheering crowd. With great determination, he swears he will definitely make the starting team. The next day, we see the players preparing for another practice on the field. Stretching, the protagonist seems to feel the soreness from the previous day's practice. Hyung-min complains that today's practice is the most boring of all, with physical conditioning. Suddenly, his friend stops complaining and looks at something with a surprised expression. The school's coach is standing in front of a bus with his arms open. From the bus, several players in red and black uniforms begin to get off. The entire team gets off and lines up on the field as the coach watches them. With serious expressions, the new players seem to be from a very strong team. His friend recognizes them as the Seoul youth team and the guy is confused. Getting out of a car, a man thanks the coach for accepting a sudden request. With a smile, the protagonist realizes who has arrived and gets very excited about the visit. The man is Coach Jung-gwan, who walks towards them with a serious look. The school's coach says that a match against a strong team is always welcome. Jung-gwan replies that he has several things to check, and the other asks if he needs anything. With a serious look, the national team coach thinks about something he needs to do right now. Our protagonist and his friend watch the conversation from a distance with great attention. With a drop of sweat running down his face, he seems tense and anxious about the situation. The national team coach then says he has just one request to make of the coach. He announces to the team that today's practice has been replaced by a surprise friendly match. The coach shows the lineup on the board and tells them to warm up for the game. The players approach the board to check the formation and their positions. One of the players instructs our hero to pass all the balls to Hyung-min. He then points to the board and tells the protagonist to look at the lineup. Looking at the board, the guy wonders why the lineup is different. He expected the positions to be the same as always, but something surprises him. With wide eyes, he realizes that something very important is missing. Looking closer, he sees that one of the players is not in the team's formation. He keeps looking but can't find his friend's name on the board. Shocked, he realizes his friend Sun Hyung-min is not in the lineup for the game. With a nervous smile, he wonders what happened and if they're in big trouble now. From a distance, the national team coach watches the players preparing for the match. He then thinks about the protagonist and the incredible passing game he showed. The coach then challenges the guy to prove his worth without the main forward. Our protagonist then prepares to prove he is qualified for the national team. With the referee's whistle, the first half of the match against the Seoul team begins. Youth teams are organizations created to discover future soccer stars. Among the various teams that exist, one of them stands out quite a bit in the sport. The Seoul team, led by Lee Jong-gwan, is on a whole different level. During the match, our hero faces the number 10 of the opposing team in midfield. With ease, a Seoul player manages to steal the ball from his teammate. The opposing player then prepares to make an extremely calculated pass. Very calmly, he takes a deep breath before executing his genius and precise play. He calculates the distance, the spin, and the exact coordinates for the perfect pass. Adjusting his glasses, he is completely certain of his play's success rate. With 100% confidence, he then kicks the ball with absurd precision. The long pass travels perfectly across the field and finds his open teammate. Surprised, the protagonist's teammates don't know where the ball went. Another player receives the pass and shoots directly at the goal without even hesitating. The ball enters the goal with so much force it looks like a building going through the net. The Seoul team opens the score, and our hero is shocked, not understanding anything. Wiping his glasses, the player reveals the true secret of the Seoul team. He is Oh Sung-min, the math genius of passing, and his calculations are perfect. The previous night, our hero was researching his opponent in his room. With a few clicks, he found valuable information about the Seoul player. He discovered that Oh Sung-min was the MVP of the National Youth Soccer Tournament. The guy realizes that his passes are incredible and that they play the same position. With this information, he understands that the other is a strong candidate for the cup. To surpass him, he knows he would need an overwhelming passing ability. With the help of Hyung-min in the golden zone, he feels confident he can do it. Back in the game, one of his teammates shouts his name and advances with the ball. Unfortunately, an opposing player manages to intercept the pass with ease. Another teammate tries to recover the ball but is also dispossessed by the opponent. The Seoul player advances with the ball, and our hero tries to stop him from progressing. Even with strong marking, the opponent manages to maintain possession of the ball. The ball is loose again, and the Seoul team continues on the attack with great skill. One of the players on his team gets frustrated and complains about the quality of the passes. Without his main forward, our protagonist seems completely lost. He realizes his pass success rate is 0% and gets nervous. Without Hyung-min on the field, he can't see the golden zone, and his passes are useless. With wide eyes, he despairs because, without the golden zone, he can't dream of the cup. A teammate scolds him for standing still and tells him to get back on defense. He then sees his great rival Oh Sung-min advancing with the ball in the attack. With a touch of his head, Oh Sung-min easily dribbles past our protagonist. He then makes a precise pass to his teammate, who advances alone. The tactical diagram shows the set play and the team's perfect movement. With a touch to his chest, the player controls the ball and prepares for the shot. With the outside of his foot, he shoots with spin towards the opponent's goal. The shot is so well placed that the goalkeeper can't reach the ball in time. Unfortunately for the Seoul team, the ball grazes the post and goes out. The guy realizes that if the pass had been to Hyung-min, it would have definitely been a goal. Oh Sung-min walks across the field and catches the attention of the national team's coach. From the stands, the coach congratulates him on the pass with a thumbs up. The coach gives a thumbs up, and our hero gets annoyed by the scene. He realizes he needs to make even more incredible passes to impress the coach. From the sidelines, Hyung-min comments that the midfield is under a lot of pressure. He wonders if the absence of the two main players is a big problem. His friend explains that without the two forwards, it's hard to create attacking chances. He continues, saying that Seoul's midfield is distributing passes everywhere. Suddenly, they hear a shout and see that the team has gotten a chance to attack. After a long time, the protagonist's team finally has a chance to attack. Running with the ball, our hero advances at high speed into the attacking field. He knows this is his big chance to show his worth and change the game. He thinks that if he can pass to Gyu Do-jun, he might catch the coach's attention. Suddenly, two opposing players appear in his path to block him. Seeing the tight space, he realizes it will be difficult to get through there. However, his teammate Gyu Do-jun shouts, asking for the ball in a good position. The tactical diagram shows that the best option would be a pass to the side and then advance. Thinking that side is safer, he prepares to make a simple pass. But he remembers the coach praising a pass and decides to risk a genius play. With a confident smile, he changes his mind and prepares for something unexpected. Shouting his teammate's name, he then kicks the ball with all his strength. The ball flies high across the field, surprising the opposing players with its trajectory. However, the guy gets worried because the ball's trajectory seems very strange. He realizes the ball's momentum is decreasing and the pass might be intercepted. An opponent laughs and says the boy's pass is full of flaws and easy to catch. The bad pass. It's now the Seoul team's turn to advance on a counterattack. One of the opposing team's players controls the ball and prepares to continue the play. With a subtle touch, Oh Sung-min stops the ball and takes full control of the attack. Focused, he completes the pass calculation and prepares for another genius play. He then kicks the ball with precision, making another long and perfect launch. The players look up at the sky, impressed by the precision of the opponent's pass. The ball then bounces perfectly on the ground for his teammate to receive. The Seoul player controls the ball and shoots hard to score the second goal. The ball goes into the top corner, and the goalkeeper has no chance to make the save. After the goal, the Seoul players celebrate while the other team laments. Our hero feels guilty because his mistake led to another goal by the opponent. He realizes that this mistake was a fatal blow to his team's hopes. After the game, we see the school gate with the sun setting in the background. A sign indicates the soccer club room where the players gather. Alone in the locker room, our protagonist reflects on the events of the match. He thinks that the zone that appeared in the game was real and not a hallucination. He wonders why the zone appeared even without Hyung-min on the field. With his hand on his chin, he tries to understand the reason the zone suddenly appeared. Looking at his laptop, he starts to rewatch the match to analyze the plays. He realizes that Gyu Do-jun is a player with excellent physique and fundamentals. This makes him a forward with a good presence in the box and difficult to mark. He then decides to analyze the plays of his other teammate, Son Hyung-min. Watching the videos, he notices that his friend's movement without the ball is excellent. He is shocked to see how good his friend is, and that his level is no longer that of a high schooler. In an old game, Hyung-min advances with the ball, showing all his skill. Thanks to the footage, he finally understands the true meaning of the golden zone. He realizes that the golden zone signifies an opportunity to score a goal. He understands that Gyu Do-jun is a forward who holds his position and doesn't create opportunities. Hyung-min, on the other hand, constantly moves to receive passes in good positions. This makes him a forward with excellent compatibility with the golden zone. The guy despairs at the thought that his ability might be useless depending on the forward. Suddenly, someone calls his name, pulling him out of his deep thoughts. He turns around and sees the national team coach standing at the locker room door, watching him. With a smile, the coach asks if they can talk for a moment alone. That same night, we see the apartment building where our hero lives. During dinner, his mother serves a dish that looks a bit suspicious and strange. The boy's father is startled by the food's appearance and asks what it is. The mother replies, laughing, that it's steamed fish, but the father thinks it's alchemy. With wide eyes, he seems unable to believe what he's seeing on the plate. The mother then asks why her son has such a dark and sad expression. The father comments that he's been like this since he got home from school and asks if something happened. Worried, the mother wants to know if his friends are bothering him or something like that. After a moment of silence, our protagonist decides to tell them the truth. With a smile from ear to ear, he prepares to deliver the big news. He then reveals that he was selected for the national team for the Under-17 Cup. Shocked, the father asks if it's the soccer team and if he'll be on TV. The guy replies that it will probably be broadcast on a small scale, but nothing grand. Excited, the father starts calling all his friends to share the news. With a proud smile, he tells President Kim that his son has made the national team. The protagonist feels embarrassed and wonders why his father is so happy with the news. He remembers that in his past life, his parents suffered a lot because of him. The sad scene of him being comforted by his mother in the hospital comes to his mind. Suddenly, his mother gently holds his hand, pulling him from his thoughts. With eyes full of tears, she says that he worked very hard to achieve this. Emotional, the guy can only call out for his mother with a choked voice. His parents continue to call relatives to proudly share the good news. Seeing his parents' happiness, he promises that in this life, he will make them happy. The next day at practice, our hero and his friend run together on the field. The friend comments that he met with the coach, and the protagonist confirms he's going to the cup. Hyung-min brags, saying that if it weren't for his advice, he would have failed. The guy responds sarcastically that he did well on his own and didn't need any help. The two start a silly argument in the middle of practice about who deserves more credit. The argument heats up, and they start to fight for real in the middle of the field. From a distance, he observes other players who also seem to be fighting among themselves. His friend says that what was bound to happen has finally happened, and the guy doesn't understand. He then reveals that there are two rival factions within the soccer club. With a surprised look, the protagonist vaguely remembers the existence of these factions. The first faction is the Pro Cup group with Sun Hyung-min and Yang Ju-chan as leaders, and the other is the Anti-Cup faction led by the veteran player Park Jeong-soo. The diagram shows that our hero was friends with both factions and stayed in the middle. His friend explains that Park hates their side, and the fight broke out because of it. He thinks that his friend Yang Ju-chan's lack of tact is the same as always. During the fight, our protagonist sees a strange red light coming from one of the players. Shocked, he wonders if what he saw was really a mysterious red light. Gritting his teeth, the player seems to be extremely furious about the argument. Rubbing his eyes, he thinks the light has disappeared and wonders if he saw it wrong. He then considers the possibility of another zone existing besides the golden one. The coach arrives, shouting, and asks what the boys are doing fighting. Seeing the coach's arrival, his friend pulls him away to avoid getting into trouble. Even from a distance, he keeps thinking about the red light and what it could mean. The next day during practice, he learns about the national team's training. Curious, he asks if the national team also has this kind of problem with factions. After a moment of silence, his friend seems to think carefully about the answer. With a smile, he claims that there are no factions on the national soccer team. Our hero becomes suspicious because his friend's answer seemed a bit sinister. On the day of the national team's practice, the coach introduces the team's new midfielder. With a smile, he introduces himself as Song Yoo-jun and asks them to take good care of him. In front of his new teammates, he feels the tension in the air between the players. The cold stares from the veterans make it clear that he will not be welcome there. Some players seem especially hostile and stare at him with contempt and anger. With a smile, he understands that there are no factions, but something much worse. He realizes that on the national team there are no factions, but strong discrimination. With a nervous smile, he wonders how he will manage to overcome this situation. The practice then begins on a field surrounded by a lush, green forest. The players warm up by passing the ball in a circle in the middle of the field. One of the players controls the ball and prepares to make a pass to his teammate. Our protagonist receives the ball and controls it calmly and with great skill. He remembers the cold atmosphere and wonders why the coach allows this. A player approaches and says he made the team by beating Oh Sung-min. He continues, saying that the other stamina wasn't good, but his passes were. With a smile, the protagonist replies that Oh Sung-min's passes were incredible. He tries to fit in and says he will do his best not to cause trouble. Suddenly, he is surprised by a powerful shot that grazes his head. Fallen on the ground, he shouts furiously for almost being hit in the head by the ball. The other player mocks him, saying it was on purpose and that he has good reflexes. On the ground, he sees his teammate's shadow and feels the hostility in the air. Kim Min-sung says they need someone good, not someone who just tries hard. With a nervous smile, he understands that he needs to be recognized for his skill. Lying on the ground, he gets up, determined to show his worth to everyone there. The coach announces that the afternoon practice will focus on team game tactics. He divides the players into 2 teams for a tactical practice match. Before the game, one of the veterans approaches the protagonist with a look of contempt. Whispering, he tells the guy to work hard and not get in the team's way during the game. Our hero then remembers the information he has about Kim Min-sung. He knows that the guy will become the national team's back in the 2022 World Cup. With explosive speed, he is an extremely fast and agile player on the field. In addition, his precise tackles make him a first-class defender. With a smile, he remembers that the player failed badly during the World Cup. The coach announces that the game will start in 5 minutes and everyone should warm up. Before starting, the coach calls the protagonist for a private chat. He approaches the coach and asks what he wants to talk to him about. The coach then reveals that he will play as a free player in the practice. A free player moves between attack and defense without a fixed position. With a determined look, he understands that he can run freely across the field. Excited, he decides he won't hold back and will show all of his skills. He thinks he should run freely and show his skills, but he hesitates. With a mischievous smile, he decides he will show everyone what he can do. With the ball at his feet, the player from the blue team advances with speed across the field. Another player follows the play and prepares to support his teammate. Our protagonist asks for the ball, but his teammates seem to ignore him. Annoyed, he realizes that the ball is not coming to him at all. He feels frustrated because he needs the ball to be able to show his skills. One of the players yells at him to get out of the way, calling him a rookie with contempt. The player advances and our hero is in the way, not knowing what to do. Too late to move, he ends up colliding with his teammate. The impact is so strong that he is thrown to the ground with great force and pain. On the ground, he complains about the pain while the other player extends a hand to help him. Moon Jae-won apologizes and says he couldn't stop in time to avoid the collision. Accepting the help, he says he's fine and will be more careful next time. With a smile, he realizes that not everyone on the national team is a complete jerk. Hyun-min approaches worried and asks if he's okay after the collision. He then changes the subject and comments that the other players aren't passing the ball. The friend says everyone would faint if they saw his passes and offers to help talk to them. Our hero thinks that would be the easiest way to solve the problem. Hyun-min turns to talk to the others but is interrupted by his friend. Holding his friend's shoulder, he stops him from going and decides to handle it himself. He wonders how long he will keep depending on his friend's help. With a determined look, he says he will prove his own worth with his skills. He knows that if the ball doesn't come to him, then he needs to go to the ball himself. Seeing his teammate advancing, he runs to the defensive line to steal the ball. The opponent is surprised to see him drop back so far on defense and questions him. With a smile, he replies that he's going to steal the ball and advance on the attack. With a mocking smile, the other player doubts he can do that. The blue team starts to exchange quick passes to prevent him from stealing the ball. In a 2-on-1 situation, he finds himself at a disadvantage and runs to mark. Even outnumbered, he chases the opponent with speed and determination. Surprised by the speed, the player realizes he won't be able to escape the marking. He then back-heels the ball to relieve the pressure and maintain possession. Our hero is shocked because he didn't expect someone to be behind him. The other player receives the pass and shoots the ball with spin towards the goal. Another player appears by surprise and shoots first time with all his strength. The ball goes towards the goal and almost goes in, but the goalkeeper makes a great save. The player regrets the missed chance while his teammates console him. The protagonist is impressed with the quality of the game and wonders what this is. He realizes that the physique and speed of his new teammates are incredible. Suddenly, he realizes that he is now at a completely different level of play. The intensity of the match is much higher than what he was used to in his old team. He also notices that their passing ability and judgment are superior. Everything is on a much higher level than what he was used to playing. With a nervous smile, he wonders how he will manage to prove his worth. Alone on the field, he feels lost and unsure of what to do to stand out. Desperate, he runs across the field, trying to find a way to participate in the game. Seeing a teammate receive the ball, he positions himself to try to help with the play. The blue team continues to exchange quick passes and our hero can't keep up. Gritting his teeth, he becomes frustrated with the frantic pace of the match. The pace of the passes is so fast that he can barely react in time to intercept. He wonders if this is really the level of the junior national team. Normally, the process of exchanging passes goes through 3 basic stages. The first is to look around to analyze the position of all the players. The third and final step is to finally make the pass to the open teammate. But on the national team, they skip the second step and do everything much faster. Annoyed, he realizes they don't need the second step to play. They continuously track everyone's position, which is why the quick pass is possible. With his current ability, he knows it's impossible to keep up with this pace, but he decides he can't just stand still and needs to do something to change the game. One of the players taunts him and asks if he's not tired of clinging on. The opponent continues, saying that there are things that don't work no matter how hard he tries. Before receiving the pass, one of the blue team's players prepares for the play. At the last second, our hero appears and manages to steal the ball from the opponent. Lee Jong-suk says that there are things that work if you keep trying. The blue team player shouts for his teammates to get ready for defense. 2 players advance to mark our protagonist and try to recover the ball. Lee Jong-suk says the rookie's fighting spirit passed the test and he wants to see more. With the ball at his feet, he now has the chance to show what else he can do. With a subtle touch, he stops the ball and prepares for the next play. With a determined smile, he says he will show everyone what he can do. Advancing with the ball, he runs at high speed into the attacking field. Unmarked, he advances with the ball and looks for a passing option. He thinks he got the ball but still needs to find a good play. Suddenly, a strong golden light appears on the field and surprises him again. The bright light manifests in several spots on the field at the same time. 3 golden pillars appear simultaneously, showing the scoring opportunities. Impressed, he thinks that 3 zones appearing at the same time is the power of the national team. However, he realizes that all the zones are very far from his current position. He decides to get closer to the zones to be able to make the pass and create a scoring chance. Suddenly, one of the veteran players appears and surprises him with his speed. Kim Min-sung taunts him and tells him to pass the ball before he embarrasses himself. He wonders if he can get past the opponent with his dribble or if he should pass. He then remembers his promise to prove his worth on his own. Determined, he decides that if he doesn't prove his worth now, he'll never get another chance. With a shout, he advances with the ball and tries to get past the marker with speed. The opponent laughs and says he chose to embarrass himself in the end. With a confident smile, he calls the opponent's name and prepares for the dribble. The 2 face off in an intense dispute for possession of the ball. With a subtle touch, our hero tries to trick the marker and pass on the right, but the defender doesn't fall for the feint and easily follows him with great calm. Kim Min-sung says the move was too obvious and easy to predict. Our protagonist reveals that the right was just a feint and the real dribble is to the left. With a quick change of direction, he manages to get past the marker and is free. Celebrating the dribble, he thinks that now he just needs to make the pass to his teammate. Suddenly, the opponent appears behind him with a scary look and red eyes. He can't believe the opponent's speed and doesn't know where the tackle will come from. Not knowing which way to dodge, he finds himself cornered and about to lose the ball. Suddenly, he sees a bright red arrow coming from his opponent's foot. The arrow is connected to the player's left leg, indicating the direction of the lunge. The arrow then starts to charge, indicating that the tackle is about to happen. With the help of the red arrow, he manages to dodge the tackle at the last second. With a touch on the ball, he dodges the slide tackle and manages to keep possession. The opponent is surprised and regrets getting so close to stealing the ball. Our protagonist understands that the red zone indicates the trajectory of the tackle. With this new ability, he challenges the opponent to another duel across the field. The red arrow appears again, indicating that the tackle will come from the right. He realizes the arrow shows a tackle from the front and prepares to dodge. If he's right, the red zone shows the exact trajectory of the opponent's lunge. With a quick dribble, he dodges the slide tackle and easily gets past the marker. Kim Min-sung is shocked and can't believe how he managed to dodge. With a confident smile, he asks if that's all the veteran can do. Saying it's too obvious, he kicks the ball high into the air to make a long pass. The ball flies towards the golden zone and finds his teammate free to score. He knew his friend could make the pass and runs to finish the play. The teammate receives the pass and shoots hard into the goal, leaving no chance for the keeper. The ball goes into the corner, and the red team scores an amazing goal on a counter-attack. Lee Jong-suk is impressed with the play and praises the rookie with a smile. The other players are also surprised and say the rookie is impressive. From a distance, the national team coach watches the play with a serious, thoughtful look. He is surprised to see that the rookie is not outmatched, even by the national team members. With his new teammates hugging him, he finally feels like part of the team. After the celebration, the protagonist hears his name and suddenly stops on the grass. With a confused expression, he turns to see who is calling him. It was Kim Min-sung, who was looking at him with a very serious expression on his face. With his eyes glowing red, he seems to be completely furious with the guy. The protagonist remembers the fight between his colleagues and notices the same light in the senior player's eyes. Suddenly, the guy stops in front of him, and our hero wonders what's going on. With glowing red eyes, the senior player stares him down, and he wonders if the other guy is looking for a fight. A red aura of fury appears in his eye, and the tension builds between the two players. However, to the young man's surprise, the senior player extends his hand for a friendly handshake. With a smile, the player says he recognizes him, and our hero is completely confused by the scene. He wonders what the other guy meant by that and doesn't understand the change in attitude. The senior player then explains that he was the first one to get past his defense, and that's why he recognizes him. Awkwardly, the protagonist thanks him, and the other says goodbye, adding that he hopes to work with him. The ball then rolls near the feet of the senior player, who now seems calmer and more relaxed. A teammate asks Kim Min-sung to kick the ball to him, and the player looks at the object. With a mischievous smile on his face, he replies that he understands what he needs to do. Then, he kicks the ball with all his might toward his teammate. The ball hits the other player square in the face, who falls to the ground from the strong impact. Our hero asks if he did that on purpose, and the other just stares at him with a smile. He then says he doesn't recognize that guy, so he doesn't care what happened. With a nervous smile, the protagonist finally understands that the senior player is completely nuts. Thanks to his assist in the first half, the second half of the game went much more smoothly. Using the red zone, he easily dodges Kim Min-sung's tackles. Every time he dodged, the senior player would shout that he recognized him, and the scene would repeat over and over. Using the golden zone, he gets another assist, and his team scores another goal. And that's how his first day of training with the national team finally ended. With his mouth open, he complains that he's completely exhausted and can't take it anymore. On the bus, he laments that his body is stiff and he can't move. He thinks it was just one day of practice, but looking to his side, he notices something strange. His teammates seem to be perfectly fine and relaxed, scrolling on their phones. He then wonders why they all look so fine and show no signs of fatigue. His friend Hyung Min teases him and asks if he's dead tired now. His friend says the exhaustion is written all over his face and that it's normal for the first day. Even so, he's impressed that the guy's skills were recognized in just one day. Hyung Min reveals that it took him 2 days to prove his worth. With a smile, our protagonist realizes what this information really means. In his thoughts, he jokes if this means he's much better than his friend. With a smirk, his friend tells him to get lost and continues with his lollipop in his mouth. The guy thanks him for the compliment and says he's going to sleep, while the other asks for a piece of candy in return. As he falls asleep, he starts to reflect on how he managed to get recognized by the team. He thinks that the biggest contribution to his success was the mysterious red zone. This zone helped him know the direction and the exact leg of his opponent's tackle. On top of that, the ability also showed the exact moment of the opponent's lunge. He doesn't know why he started seeing the zone, but now he understands its true meaning. He then wonders why he suddenly started seeing these zones and how many other colors exist. With many mysteries to solve, he closes his eyes and decides he will unravel them one by one. Inside the bus, he reaffirms that he will figure everything out little by little as he travels down the road. On another training day, the under-17 Cup coach Yo Sung-soo shouts for them to go faster. The coach keeps encouraging our protagonist, who runs to his limit, yelling from the effort. After practice, the coach announces a 10-minute break, and the guy collapses on the ground, exhausted. Lying on the grass, he reflects that 3 weeks have passed since he joined the national team. During that time, he trained a lot and made some friends he considers amazing guys. One of his new teammates is Lee Jeong-suk, who sits beside him as he complains about being tired. He remembers that this player will become a great midfielder for the national team in the Bundesliga. Another friend named Moon Jong-won offers him a drink, and the guy praises his gesture. Jong-won says that next time, the protagonist will have to pass the ball to him in return. Drinking the energy drink, he thinks the guy is the future star striker of the K-League. Suddenly, Hyung Min shows up, saying that all of our hero's passes belong to him. The protagonist then tells him to come annoy him instead of bothering his new friends. His friend then changes the subject and asks if they've packed all their things yet. Confused, the guy asks what they need to pack and doesn't understand what they're talking about. Hyung Min explains that it's their things for the Sendai Cup, and the protagonist is surprised. With a hand on his chin, he wonders if the match is already the day after tomorrow and becomes thoughtful. The Sendai Cup is a friendly tournament in Japan with Brazil, France, Japan, and South Korea. He remembers that in the original story, they lost 2 games and won 1 against Japan. With a serious look, he knows that even though it's a friendly, it's a very important tournament for him. The selection for the Under-17 Cup in Nigeria will be decided based on the performance here. To succeed, he needs to make the starting lineup, and he remembers how Hyung Min became a star. Clenching his hand on the grass, he promises that he will do very well in this tournament no matter what. With a determined look, he declares that he will shine in the Sendai Cup and prove his worth. 2 days later, the team finally arrives by plane at their final destination in Japan. Looking at a giant statue, he is amazed by the beauty and grandeur of the city. A teammate gets excited and asks what they are going to do today since it's a free day. Hyung Min says he's going to analyze the economy and the trends of Japan's candy market. Another teammate finds his plan boring and asks Lee Jeong-suk what he's going to do. With a smile, our hero thinks the plan to eat ramen is great and decides to go along with his friend. Arriving at the restaurant, the two of them sit down to enjoy the famous Japanese meal. Drinking to the last drop of broth, he shows that he really loved the food. With his mouth full, he praises the dish and tells his teammate that the ramen was delicious. Wiping his mouth, he says he forgot his money and asks his friend to pay the bill for him. In shock, the teammate reveals that he also only has 200 yen on him and can't pay. The restaurant owner appears with a furious look and demands they pay the bill now. Nervously, the guy tries to buy time, not knowing what to do to get out of that situation. Suddenly, a soccer ball appears being controlled by someone in a red outfit. A player challenges the crowd to take the ball from him with a quick and skillful dribble. With a smile, he says that if anyone manages to take the ball, he will give them 10 times the money. Our hero is surprised and asks if the offer of 10 times the amount is for real. With his foot on the ball, he gets in position to start the challenge against anyone who wants to try. Showing the 2 coins, our protagonist and his friend decide to accept the challenge. A large crowd gathers to watch the challenge between the 2 makeshift teams. The rules are simple, and they need to take the ball within 30 seconds to win 1,000 yen. Our hero compliments his friend's Japanese skills, and the 2 of them stretch for the challenge. He thinks that having a father who worked at a trading company really helps at times like these. The Japanese player asks which of the 2 will try first, and the protagonist decides to go. Looking at his sneakers, he knows he's not wearing the ideal shoes for a challenge like this. Even so, with a determined look, he gets ready to show off his skills. The 2 face each other, and the challenge is finally about to begin. With a confident smile, the Japanese player announces that the 30 seconds are starting now. He moves toward our hero and gets ready for the first dribble of the challenge. The protagonist thinks the other guy is baiting him to go for the ball directly. But when he looks down, he realizes the ball is still in the same spot as before. Shocked by the feint, he is left completely stunned and can't believe what he just saw. Laughing, the Japanese player says it was just a little trick to break the ice and loosen up. Embarrassed, the protagonist scolds himself for falling so easily for the other's taunt. Shouting that this time he's going first, he charges at the opponent with everything he's got. With a smile, the Japanese player says that now the challenge has gotten fun. The 2 face off, and our hero thinks that he needs that money for the raiment. With a quick tap, he tries to take the ball from the opponent with his foot. However, the other player is faster and skillfully pulls the ball back. Then he traps the ball under his foot to shield it from the guy's attack. Using his body, our hero tries to unbalance the opponent and win possession. He then keeps pressuring the opponent to try and take the ball. Thinking he has read the left side, he gets ready to finally take the ball. But in a swift move, the opponent manages to surprise him with a dribble. With a backheel touch, he passes the ball behind him and tricks the protagonist. Shocked, he doesn't understand what happened and wonders where the ball went. With no time to admire the dribble, he quickly turns to try and get the ball. But unfortunately, the timer shows that the 30 seconds are already up. With the sound of the alarm, the challenge comes to an end, and the Japanese player wins the round. Disappointed, the guy realizes time is up and he didn't get the money. The opponent congratulates him on his effort and calls for the next challenger to play. Apologizing to his friend, he says the opponent is better than he expected. With a confident look, his friend says he watched everything and already knows what to do. Now it's Lee Jong-suk's turn to try his luck and win the ramen money. With a smile, the player announces that the 30-second challenge is about to start. Saying the time has started, he advances with the ball toward the challenger. With a sly smile, he thinks about how he's going to trick his opponent this time. He considers the possibility of faking a move to the left side of the field. Or maybe he could try to trick the opponent with a dribble to the right. While the player thinks about going through the middle, our hero's friend looks very focused. With a quick move, the Japanese player advances with the ball on the attack. He gets confused because even with the ball, he feels he's at a great disadvantage. He then feels like prey being hunted by a large spider. Finding the situation interesting, he prepares to show his true skills. With his foot on the ball, he decides he'll now show who the real prey is. With an incredible dribble, he creates multiple images of the ball to confuse his opponent. Our protagonist is shocked to see the level of the Japanese player's dribble. He thinks that the level of that dribble isn't from an amateur street player. The player asks if his friend is just going to watch and challenges him to attack. With his foot on the ball, he says he'll make an attack the other guy can't resist. He then applies backspin to the ball and lifts it off the ground with a touch. Using this force, he manages to lift the ball to the height of his instep. Next, he changes direction and skillfully flicks the ball behind him. The move seems to be the goal, but it's actually just a feint for something bigger. His real target is to kick the ball in the opposite direction to change its course. With a smile, he celebrates, thinking he has managed to trick his opponent. Like a spider catching its prey, the protagonist's friend intercepts the ball in mid-air. The Japanese player is shocked and can't believe his dribble was blocked. With the ball at his feet, our hero's friend lands on the ground and wins the challenge. Our protagonist's jaw drops at his teammate's incredible skill. Celebrating, he gives his friend a high five and says he always believed in him. The opponent turns and compliments them, saying they have a good eye for the game. He congratulates them both and hands over the 1,000 yen bill as a prize for the victory. Holding the money, the protagonist says that with 500 yen each, the ramen is paid for. The two of them thank him and bow, while the local player says he also had a lot of fun. With the money in hand, the pair turns and walks back to the ramen restaurant. Suddenly, someone appears and asks what he's doing there with the opening match being tomorrow. The long-haired man named Naga says the coach is desperately looking for him. He reveals he was watching from the start, and the player is embarrassed for having lost. Naga then teases him, saying that if he was going to be embarrassed, he shouldn't have let him watch. With an awkward smile, the player asks if his embarrassment was that obvious. 1 hour before the match against Brazil, we see a giant stadium ready for the big game. Outside, a sign indicates that this is the Korean team's locker room. Suddenly, Moon Jae-won kneels and asks the protagonist to accept his confession. Shocked, the protagonist shouts no, while his teammate begs for help. The guy says he wants to score a goal, but our hero thinks there's no chance with passes. Suddenly, the national team coach arrives and asks everyone to be quiet. With a marker in his hand, the coach starts writing the starting lineup on the board. He shows the team's tactical formation for the game against Brazil, and everyone watches. Hyung-min then raises his hand and calls the coach with a very surprised expression. He points to the board and says that our hero's name is not in the lineup. With a serious look and without saying anything, the coach seems to confirm the news. The coach then announces that the protagonist is excluded from the starting team for the match. He wonders if he didn't train well enough, even with great results. Suddenly, one of his eyes begins to glow with a strong and mysterious golden light. Looking at the coach, he sees a golden aura and wonders what that means. From the bench, he thinks the light means opportunity and that the coach will put him in the game. However, time passes and he remains on the bench with a serious expression. The clock shows 65 minutes and he wonders when he's going to play. With a slight smile on his face, he seems to realize that something is about to happen. After 10 minutes of the second half, the Brazilian team finally manages to score a goal. With a victorious smile, the Brazilian player says it was very easy to score the goal. The goal scorer, Dudu Barbosa, taunts the Korean team by making a face at them. After Brazil's goal, South Korea prepares to restart the game at midfield. The crowd cheers because South Korea is playing well against Brazil, the favorite team. With only a 1-point difference, the match is becoming more and more exciting and intense. The commentators remark that Korean players haven't given up on the game yet. On the field, player Go Min Chang advances with the ball at high speed toward the attack. He then makes a precise pass to his teammate Lee Jeong-sik. However, a Brazilian player manages to intercept the pass very easily. Annoyed with the play, the guy complains about his team's defensive failure. The Brazilian midfielder Ezio Veterino says it's too late with a smile. He makes a long, precise pass, breaking through the defense and creating a goal opportunity. With a mocking smile, the Brazilian taunts the Koreans for being too slow. From the bench, the protagonist notices that the interval between passes is very short. The Korean team's rhythm was fast, but Brazil's is even faster and more precise. With a confused look, he tries to understand the big difference between the teams. He then remembers how his friend Lee Jeong-suk used observation to win. His friend analyzed the opponent's data to be able to counter-attack and win. Now that he's on the bench, he decides he can also use observation to his advantage. He tries to analyze Brazil's passes but can't understand a single thing. Deciding to focus on what he does best, he thinks about just using the golden zone. Suddenly, he has a major revelation about how the golden zone works. The golden zone shows where goals will happen and allows for a faster rhythm. With the ball at their feet, they can control the rhythm of the game with great ease. With a thoughtful look, the protagonist wonders if the Brazilians can also see this. He concludes that the opponents know exactly how to position themselves in the attacking zone. On the bench, the guy understands that they predict exactly where the ball will arrive next. With a serious look, he concludes that this is the result of a lot of effort and experience. They continuously move to the best positions to receive the next pass. This way, they can always keep the pace of the match very fast and unpredictable. In his thoughts, he imagines himself on the field facing Brazil's frantic pace. The guy realizes he wouldn't have been able to do anything and that he was lucky to start on the bench. Looking at the coach, he wonders if that's why he was left on the sidelines. Suddenly, the coach yells and seems very tense about what's happening in the match. Dudu receives a pass from Ezil and scores another goal for the Brazilian team, celebrating. From the bench, the protagonist notices that the play was again between players 8 and 9. The tactical diagram shows number 8 running behind his teammate. Then, number 9 connects the pass to his partner without even needing to look. The tiki-taka play continues, and the player kicks the ball with great force and precision. We see the striker's foot hitting the ball with full force to finish the set piece. The ball then hits the back of the net, and the Brazilian team scores another goal against Korea. The Brazilian players hug each other and celebrate another amazing goal against the Korean team. Observing the scene, he understands that numbers 8 and 9 are the core of the rival's attack. Suddenly, the coach shouts the protagonist's name, who is distracted on the bench. With a serious look, the coach tells the guy to get ready to enter the field. He then announces that he is going to make a substitution to try to change the game. With a confident smile, the guy thinks that his big chance has finally arrived. In the booth, the commentators remark that it's hard to see Korea turning this game around. Suddenly, one of the announcers receives a message and seems to have some news. He then announces to the viewers that there will be a substitution on the Korean team. The narrator is surprised because it's the first international tournament for the player coming in. With his foot on the grass, the protagonist finally steps onto the field for his debut. The announcer then calls the entry of number 17, Song Yoo-jun, into the match. On the field, his friend Hyung-min greets him and jokes that the guy is late for the party. With a confident smile, the guy replies that he's faster when he's in a hurry. He warns his teammates that he's going to run a lot and that they should keep up with him. The scene returns to Brazil's goal, where the players are celebrating and praising the passes. With the score at 2-0, Hyung-min looks at the scoreboard with great frustration. He feels powerless and wonders if the difference in skill level is really that big. Even so, he tries to cheer up his teammates, saying they can still turn the match around. However, the rest of the team seems completely dejected and without any hope of victory. Looking at them, his friend realizes that the team's mentality is already broken. The substitution happens, and our hero enters the field with the mission to change the game. With a smile, his friend calls him a fool and complains that he took too long to get in. The ball is back in play, and the Korean team goes on the attack with new determination. Moon Jeong-won advances with the ball and passes to his teammate Lee Jeong-suk. However, a Brazilian player appears and questions where he thinks he's going with the ball. With a serious and focused look, the Korean player is not fazed by the opponent's marking. Suddenly, the Brazilian player is shocked by the speed of the Korean team's new play. He wonders what changed, as until now, the players seemed almost lifeless on the field. Ignoring the defender, the Korean player passes the ball forward, yelling for someone to get it. The narrator announces that Song Yoo-jun received the pass and is advancing into the attacking half. The commentators are surprised as they have no information about the rookie player. The Brazilian player Dudu Barbosa watches our hero from a distance and seems very curious. He notices that the entry of number 17 has changed the atmosphere and that he is not ordinary. However, a passing error by Korea on the attack gives possession to the Brazilian team. Our protagonist is worried because a mistake in this position could mean a goal. The Brazilian team seizes the opportunity and launches a very fast counter-attack. The Brazilian player receives the ball and analyzes the position of the defenders in front of him. He sees that there are only 2 Korean players in his way to scoring another goal. With a shout, Dudu Barbosa prepares to finish the play and extend the lead. Our hero runs desperately to try and help the defense and prevent the goal. He thinks that with his help, the defense has 3 players and that the others are coming. He notices that the players running from behind are numbers 8 and 15. Determined, he says he will cut off the ball before the Brazilian team advances any further. He and his teammate Kim Min-sung prepare to lunge at the Brazilian player. Mockingly, the Brazilian striker asks if they think they can handle him. The player Kim Min-sung says he'll go first, while our hero doesn't understand the taunt. With a subtle touch, the Brazilian lifts the ball into the air with great style. He then uses his body to shield the ball from the Korean defender's attack. With the ball in the air, the Korean players see an opportunity to take it. Our protagonist gets ready to jump and get the ball at its highest point. His teammate Kim Min-sung also prepares to jump and take the ball from the opponent. The two of them jump at the same time and get ready to get the ball and start a counter-attack. With a confident smile, the Brazilian player seems to have a card up his sleeve. In an incredible move, he manages to flick the ball over both players at the same time. Our hero is impressed by the play and recognizes the opponent's dribble. The Brazilian player taunts the protagonist, saying he's nothing special. Annoyed, Kim Min-sung tells his teammate to chase the opponent to get the ball back. The striker realizes he has bought enough time for his teammates to get into position. While he was drawing attention, the rest of the team was positioning for a devastating attack. The tactical diagram shows how the Brazilian players moved into the attack. With a precise pass, the Brazilian team starts another dangerous play against Korea. With a cry of determination, the protagonist runs to mark the player Vandriki. However, the player Vandriki manages to quickly pass the ball to his teammate Ezeal. Seeing the play, our hero is surprised and realizes something very important about the move. He realizes that the triangle formation is the same one he saw from the bench. The narrator says that the key to the play is the pass from the Brazilian player Ezeal. With a confident smile, Ezeal thinks the game is already over with the formation complete. He knows that the trio of short, quick passes is almost impossible to stop. If the opponent tries to take the ball, they just send it in another direction. To the opponent, the ball seems to disappear in their Bermuda Triangle tactic. Challenging the defense, he then kicks the ball to start the set piece. The moment he sees the pass, he realizes the target is the top scorer, Dudu. With short, quick passes, he prepares to score his 3rd goal of the match. However, the protagonist suddenly appears and manages to intercept the Brazilian's pass. The striker is shocked, unable to believe it, and the narrator announces the incredible play. With a smile, our hero reveals that he has already figured out all of the Brazilian team's plays. He remembers that the triangle formation seemed very familiar to him. It was the exact same play he had observed from the bench. After all, the final pass always goes to number 9, Dudu, the core of the team's attack. With the power of observation, he wonders how many times they will fall for the same trick. With a strong and precise kick, he then starts the counter-attack for his team. The ball travels across the field in a long, precise launch to the Korean attack. The narrator then announces that Song Yoo-jun made an incredible pass for his team. The Brazilian player Du turns in surprise to see where the ball will land. The target of the pass is the Korean striker, Sun Hyung-min, who controls the ball. With a shout, our hero tells his friend to run with all his speed. Yelling for him to run, the protagonist shows all his determination on the field. Hyung-min then bolts at high speed, leaving the defense behind. The excited narrator says that now it's a counter to the counter-attack. With this play, South Korea has a clear chance to score a goal.